Everybody, in this video we're going to review the results from Y-2 or round 2, and I'm going to give some hints on how to complete Y-3 or what I call round 3 or year 3, and I'm going to fill in some blanks about what you're responsible for, how teams should be working together, and other misconceptions that you may have about the simulation based on a few questions I got from students. So number one is, when you on the company page, make sure that even though you have these role-playing roles here, it doesn't mean that Bunny can only work on marketing. You're a team. You work together in all aspects of the simulation. So these roles do not lock you into only being able to work on one page. They're just part of a overall role-play narrative of the simulation. Now, given that in mind, if you think of a company's top leadership, the VPs of the company, vice presidents of the company, they all work together. They don't make decisions. They don't split the work up. They don't say, okay, what some teams do is they say, okay, John, you do all the work this week, and Susie will do week 3, and Sam will do week 4, Bunny will do week 5, and Isabel will finish the simulation. And that way we divide up the work and we don't have to do as much work or worry about it for more than 1 week. That's a fail, because you get 1 or 2 weak team members, they could have a horrible round and ruin your chances for getting points for the simulation. So you don't want to rely on one person to do everything and split the work up that way. Nor do you want to say, okay, Susie works on sales, Bunny works on marketing, Sam works on production, and Isabel does the finance page. The reason that won't work is because you need to communicate. Isabel can't do finance if she doesn't know how much marketing is going to spend or sales is going to need to make their car, or what price they're going to charge. Production needs to know what the forecast is. So you have to work together as a team and communicate to do well in the simulation. Don't try to... If you have the mindset, I want to break up the work into small compartments so I don't have to deal with anybody else, it's going to be obvious and you're not going to do well in the simulation. Okay. Also, these reflective observation boxes here you need to fill out. So you need to create a mission statement. And down here under team cooperation, you can go in and let me know who's cooperating on your team and who's not cooperating on your team. And this gets backed up every week. So that way you're developing some artifacts for me. So if you, at the end of the simulation, if you claim that certain students are not contributing, I could see that under the team cooperation, which gets backed up every week and refreshed, I could see how it was logged every week, as well as I can go in and I can review each student's, all their individual contributions are backed up on the simulation. So I can go and then verify if they did any work. So that way anybody who's completely freeloading won't get any points for the simulation either. So I can't force people to work with you. All I could do is punish them later if they refuse to do any work with the team. So keep that in mind, and moving forward, make sure you're cooperative with your teammates and you do your share of the work. Now, as far as the overview, this is the first place you should go to after your round is done. And Team 41 is a sample team in our group that I'm kind of using as my example team, because I don't want to use anybody else's real team and embarrass them or, be unfair in any way. So I have a team that I put the inputs in and I can talk about. So here, revenues increased 41%. The quick ratio, I borrowed some debt, so the quick ratio did not improve. And I lost some points there, but not much, not even 1 point. I made some points. I was able to increase my profit margins. I made 12 points on increasing my gross, 19 points on my operational, and 20 points on my net. Now, when you improve your profit margins, that trickles down to a lot of other categories. So here, I was able to increase my earnings per share by 68%, my return on assets by 34%, my market capitalization. And these are all things that we're learning in Chapter 3. So if you read Chapter 3, we talk about all these financial ratios in the lecture and in the textbook. So you should be well understand how these are calculated, what factors influence the change of these ratios, and the year-over-year percentage change, meaning that my total asset turnover went up 12%, I get 12 points. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to improve the company's financial position and improve the financial ratios. Exactly what we're learning in Chapter 3. Now, my book value went up by 74%. I did better on my forecasting for 3 out of the 4 cars, and I had a surplus this round. As well as I made operational investments, so I ended up earning 567 points, which is way above average. Average is about 300 points a round. So I doubled the average, and my cumulative score is 1,300 so far. So now you should, as reviewing the simulation, you should go into the assessment, review each of your star levels, see if your percentile rank and your performance, and get some advice on how to improve. Then you want to go into the charts and see the team ranking. You see that 2 teams did better than 41, Team 16 and Team 39. Both had above average points. So now a couple teams down here, if you have below 300 points, you need to really reevaluate what you're doing and try to improve those profit margins and improve your sales. And you see most teams are in the 50 percentile area of GP. This is where you should be. Definitely want to be in the 50% or even 60 percentile gross profits when you finish the 3rd round. Anybody who is below, I'd say, 47 has some catching up to do to improve. Now, if you're only at 41, 2 teams are only at 41, you need to improve this. You started at 40, so a 1% gain in profit margins isn't strong enough, isn't good enough. You got to work on that. So on my individually, I want to look at my team performance chart because I want to see at the very bottom how I did. So my forecasting here, I under forecasted. I could have sold, I left some cars that competitors took up, and here I lost 300 cars, although economy was the only car to meet. The blue is the market potential, and yellow is they built enough cars to meet that. So the other 3 I gave up. I was inefficient and I gave up sales. I could have sold 350, almost 700 more cars if I had better forecasting. Okay, so I'll keep that in mind my next round. And then I look at the industry charts and I want to see how my competitors are doing. So I see here, let me just make this a little so everyone, there we go. So I see here that profits went up, and the companies that did great last time continue to do even better. But it looks like, by and large, if you look at both scales, it looks like everybody was able to improve. Most everybody was able to improve their profit margins. No one lost any money. Points per team, like I explained last game, round 1 is the easiest round to make points. After round 1, you're competing against your excellent decisions from the previous round, since they're year-over-year scoring. So you kind of settle into around between 300, 400 points is average for every round moving forward. And we have a number of teams that did better than that, and a number of teams that did a little bit worse than average. But overall, everyone made points. No one lost points, which is a good thing. We have 2 leaders in stock price, Team 41 and Team 16. And sales per share, we have the same 2 teams almost dead even, Team 9 and Team 27. They just need to translate those into better profits. Now, this team that came in last in sales last round, you can see that they have a very steep slope, and they're up here. They really did a great job turning their sales around from last round to this round. And earnings per share, we have the top 3 teams here. Top 5 teams are all above $7, and we have the main pack here. And we said these 3 that failed to have high earnings last round moved up greatly. So teams are improving. Things are doing well for most teams. So let's move into, I can go in the industry and I can check out the top competitors to see how they did and how well they scored. I could review my financials, which now you should understand a little bit better after reading Chapter 3, which talks a lot about the introductory of financials, income statement, balance statement, cash flow. So you should be able to understand these a little bit better and see the improvements. So I go into sales now, and I see that the customer's expectations have increased. The importance factors never change, but the customer's expectation ranges do change. I was able to increase my operational cost reductions because I invested money in the company. And I see that the top end price has moved up by about $500. So I'm going to redesign my vehicle. First thing I'm going to think about is the sales forecasts. And like I've said a few times, to do the sales forecasts, you need to pop up the student manual. And this is going to be my reference point. So I'm going to review the growth rates, and I'm in year 3. So I'm going to think about what the averages are for year 3, which is this column here. And I'm going to put in some forecasts closer to this average, depending on how well I think my car is set up for performance. Okay. So again, what I'm trying to do here is I want to, of course, increase my features of the car. So I want to make a better car. And I want to definitely try to move up at least 5 percentage points on my gross profit for each vehicle. That's sort of my goal. I want to move up 5 percentage points. I want to make a better car, and I want to move up on those percentage points. And I want to make sure that my car, and sometimes I get these errors here. You got those errors too. There's some limits to what I can choose here. And so for this car, I am moving up not quite 5 percentage points. So I'm going to look to see if I can get that up. There we go. So now I'm up 5 percentage points. That's sort of my goal. And even if I make a car that's not as attractive, I'll try to make up some of the difference in extra advertising or pricing. So I'm not looking to be the best possible car you can offer at the lowest price. I'm looking to be the best configuration for my company to generate the most profits. So again here, this is the truck, and I'm going to just see. Okay, so now I'm actually going down. Even though my operational cost reductions have improved, my profit margin is going down. So I'm going to have to try to get that to even match. All right, looks like I can only match it this round. So which is going to tell me that I need to do a better job, spend some more money on operational cost reductions so I can make this car more profitable. Right now, it's just not much of a gain from last time. But at least the car is moving up in the features. So I definitely improved the car from last round. So that's something that, I'm at least delivering better results for my future customers. And here again, not improving much here. Let's see. All right. Okay, so again, I didn't get my 5 percentage points here, so another fail. Even though I did increase my operational cost reductions, because the customer's expectations are increasing, it's becoming difficult for me to really create a vehicle that's going to, I can do a little tweaking here, but it's going to be difficult to create a vehicle that's going to have that 5% gross profits unless I start spending more in this operational area. So the reflective observations, as a team, you need to fill these out each round to describe to me what I just described to you verbally as I was filling out these customer expectations in the sales page. As I was talking my thought process here, it's kind of what I want to see down here, your basic thought process each round for each company. Now, when you go into the marketing page, there's going to be some reflective observations there as well. So you need to develop a slogan. Now, once you only have to develop the slogan once, and it will stick. And this is basically a sentence that describes it's sort of a tagline. And this, once you make this, it will stick. You don't have to recreate it. The overall demographic, you'd have to, who you're selling to. Try to be creative and envision who your cars are being made for and how you're selling to them. And then what strategies when you allocated your investment dollars. And how successful was last round's allocation. So these reflective observations are a requirement. There's sort of a pass-fail. You fill them out, you pass them, and you are eligible for the full points on the for the team competition if you make the minimum cumulative points. If you don't fill out these reflective observations, then instead of scoring the full points for the team participation, points will be deducted for not completing these reflective observations. Okay, I'm going to complete the marketing page and we'll meet up again in production. Okay, so now we're in the production area. And again, I see here that I have some leftover cars and I need to build 3280, but I don't have enough production. So basically I only have 3,000 in capacity, so I'm short 280 cars. Now, I could buy another production plant to make those 280 cars, but what I think I'm going to do, because that's $10 million to buy the production plant, I'm going to lower my forecast to 3280. So I'm going to go back to the sales page. Okay, so I can build 3,000 cars, which is my capacity, and meet my forecast. So this, I'm giving up some sales here, and I'm adjusting my advertising a little bit lower to realize the fact that I'm underselling a little bit, so I don't have to buy a new production plant. Maybe not the best strategy, but I just don't want to spend that money on a production plant right now. I'd rather spend it on my operational investments, because I want to be a little bit more competitive in this car next round. So I'd rather spend the money there. And these reflective observations should be filled out in the production page as well. Now, the capacity utilization here, I'm at 100% because capacity and production, so production is 3,000 divided by capacity, 3,000 equals 100%. And that's the best you can have. And that's what makes your assets much more efficient. Rather than building a production plant only to make 50 cars, now you greatly increase your assets just to produce 50 cars. That's a low capacity utilization, and that affects your overall score and your asset utilization, your total asset turnover. So you want to be as efficient here as possible. And you also want to tell me your strategy for your operational investments. I'm kind of talking through what I would write down the operational investments, but I'm in my reflective observations here. So what I'm basically saying is I'm increasing them to try to maintain profitability on this car. So again, here in the sedan, it looks like I'm going to have to buy 2 production plants to have the capacity to make 4,400 cars. Now up here, I had some leftover inventory. These are cars I didn't sell last year. I'm able to refurbish and sell this year. So that inventory doesn't go to waste. It gets added to your total output. So here, again, I'm going to increase my operational investments to try to maintain some profitability on this car. I'm going into the next vehicle, and I'm going to need another production plant here. And you don't want to do this where you create an excess or shortage down here. Only make what you're going to make. If you have anything other than 0 here, you're doing it wrong, and you're going to have incorrect pro forma financial statements if you start building cars and not reflecting them in your actual forecast. So this is the truck, and I'm going to, of course, put some more spending in here to try to improve my profitability next round. And again, finally here, buy a production plant. And you don't want to buy production plants unless you need them because they're very expensive. So, and again, I'm going to move up my operational investments here. Okay, and I'm going to finish the production. So now I move into the finance page. So I'm going to go right to the bottom, and I'm going to see that I have a nice surplus here, which is good. I was spending a lot, so I was afraid I might have a deficit. But the surplus here is good, 40 million. So these are last year's financial statements. This is next year's pro forma financial statements. So these are talked about, I believe, in chapter 4, which we're just moving into now, chapter 4. So the pro forma financial statements are an estimate on what we're going to sell next year. So based on my forecast is how they develop the sales amount. And then based on my inputs for this round for advertising, so my actual costs are being, so you see my advertising moving up, my gross profits increasing, my total net profits increasing. So if I sell every car that I forecasted, this will come true. If I don't sell every car I forecasted, this will not come true. So this is just a guess of what my financial statements will look like next year. So even though they have a cash surplus here, if I don't sell every car I promised to, this may not materialize 100%. And this is stuff that I want to write down here in my reflective observation on the finance page, which is important to document. Now, here what I can do, since I have a surplus, I'm going to actually retire some funds because I've been losing points in my debt area. So I'm going to retire some debt, and I'm going to retire a little bit of stock because I have some extra money this round. I could reinvest this in the company, buy more reflective observations, and maybe that would be a smarter move. But right now, I'm just going to retire some funds. This isn't maybe not the right thing for every company. Some companies may this round borrow some funds. But the whole key is whatever you do, you want to document it here. Why am I retiring funds? Well, I'm retiring my long-term and short-term funds because I'm trying to get better scores on my debt ratios, my quick ratio, my debt ratios. And I'm buying back stock because if I buy back stock, that lowers the amount of outstanding shares, which increases my earnings per share, which helps to increase my stock price. So there are benefits from retiring funds if you have the money. Okay, so I'm going to complete the rounds. Now the round is complete, and I'm early. It's not going to be processed till next Monday. So I just wanted to make this video to give you an idea of what your team's responsible for, a better way to work together as a team. Don't separate the work. Try to work together if you can. Even if it's 2 or 3 team members working together, it's better than nothing. And don't expect every team member to participate. Some team members are just going to try to be a freeloader, and that happens. I can't force them to participate with you. You can't force them. You can just try and encourage them. But by and large, the class is doing very well, better than any other classes I had using the simulation before. So I'm very encouraged with everyone's output so far in the simulation. So keep up the good work, and I'll look forward to talking to you next round. Take care.